Bitcoin just crashed over 50%, silver is crashing, and the rest of the names in the market are down 20 to 30%. Many traders are claiming we're going into a recession or a stock market crash. In this video, I'm going to share my exact game plan on how I prepare for Monday. I'll explain my thesis, the news events to look out for, and the trades I'm looking to execute all of next week while showing real charting examples. All right, so this is the portfolio update for February. We're only 1 week in, about $90,000, and you can see the trades that I took, and all of these trades are taken live. And then I do a breakdown on this channel for absolutely free. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. But remember, I've been trading for 7 years. The results you see here took hard work and effort. Trading is not a get rich quick overnight business. But in this video, I'm going to share my exact game plan for this week and exactly what I want to look out for. So the major news this week was Bitcoin crashes 50%. It's now down to $60,000 as historic free fall worsens. Price is down over 50% in the last 4 months. And because of this, a lot of traders are now panicking. We're in panic mode for crypto, and 8 hours ago, Forbes released an article titled Panic Mode, $10,000 Bitcoin price crash, warning suddenly triggers huge BlackRock earthquake. So with all this panic, with minus 50% on Bitcoin, how does this actually affect the market, and what does this mean for the names we trade? We can see Amazon had earnings last week. This one's also down minus 22% from all-time highs, and this week we have earnings on Coin, and this is going to be one of the big names that is associated with Bitcoin, and this is down minus 67% from all-time highs with earnings coming in this week. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how I'm planning to trade these names and get the most benefits off of this volatility. Now, in terms of some market outlook, on Tuesday, we have some red folder news events at 8:30 in the morning. Wednesday, 8:30 in the morning, some more red folder news. And then Thursday and Friday, red folder news. But all of these news events happen before the market opens. Therefore, the news events this week compared to last week are not as volatile to the intraday price action just because they will happen before the market opens. And in terms of the overall market, how do investors feel? Last week we went to greed. We are back at neutral again, and we're actually kind of coming into that fear aspect as well. The reason we're neutral is because we're at all-time highs on most names, but now from all-time highs, we're slowly coming back, and therefore fear may start coming into the market, and this really depends on this week and the price action we get. We always need to talk about rate cuts because this will help us determine the market sentiment, and the next rate cut will not happen most likely until June. Therefore, rate cuts right now are not heavily priced into the market, and we do have some earnings this week coming up. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, these earnings are not as significant as the last 2 weeks where we had a lot of the names from the Mag 7 reporting. However, some of these earnings are important, and I will be keeping an eye out on them, so let's see which earnings are the most important. For myself, on Tuesday, we have Hood earnings. This is going to be after close. This is a name we want to keep an eye out on. On Wednesday, we have Shopify. Shopify is a big name. A lot of investors have Shopify in their long-term portfolios as well. So this is something we'll talk about in the charts as well. And most importantly, on Thursday, we have Coin and Airbnb. Now, of course, Coin is a direct sympathy play to Bitcoin. This is why this is something we need to keep a big eye on this week. And then Airbnb is a big name as well. So with this being said, now let's go over to the charts and see exactly what I'm looking for this week. All right, so for the charts, these are the exact charts that I give you guys every single week. And I tell you exactly where my game plan is for the week. Last week, I talked about this green box. I talked about as long as SPY stays above this is a buy above here area, and we are bullish. As we can see, SPY is still above this box, and we are still bullish coming into this week. Therefore, there is no bearish price action just yet on SPY. So even though everyone is freaking out and the market seems like it's panicking, we do not need to panic. We know that with our technical levels, as long as we stay above this 679 area, we want to look for that continuation back to the upside with the overall market. If we do dip below this level, then we have room into 669s and 649. But once again, we don't have to panic because we know those are the key levels that we will be targeting for that short side move if the market wants to show a candle closure below this green box. Now, the next name here is QQQ. Same thing. Qs is still consolidating near all-time highs. You can see how much of a big move we've had to the upside as well. This on the daily time frame. And what we want to see is buyers continue to make this name push for a move back to the upside. So far, we are still holding above or buy above here area. And what we're looking for is continuation back to the upside. If the market does want to drop below this level, if the market drops below 600s, then we can push into 580s and 558s. However, above this area so far coming into the week, I'm going to be bullish. It's only if we break below this green box will I look to switch my thesis over to a bearish thesis. Apple, this is something that I gave you guys 2 weeks ago. I gave you the exact buy zone, I believe, this Friday. The very next Tuesday, we came back into this buy zone and buyers brought it all the way back up. If you go back to my video on the 18th of January, I gave you the exact thesis of buyers should step in here. We should make another move back up into all-time highs after earnings. That's exactly what we're doing. Now, Apple did have a 228 buy zone. However, it didn't reach it. Apple liquidity, most likely next area is going to be that all-time highs where it can reach. If it does want to pull back, right, 261.87 is going to be our key level. Right now, Apple's more so in the middle of the range, but it is a lot more bullish than a lot of these other names. Tesla was a buy above this area 460s. However, before then, Tesla was a little bit more bearish. You can see Tesla is a sell below this area. So this week we did get below this 418 area, and therefore Tesla was a little bit more bearish for me. If you actually look at my trade breakdowns as well, I took Tesla short 2 days in a row, and now you can see that Tesla is coming back for the retest. So for myself this week, what I'm going to be looking for is potentially Tesla retest for a move back to the downside, because Tesla is a little bit more bearish on the higher time frame. However, if Tesla does break back above this area of 418.82s and comes back into this consolidation, I'm not going to be as interested in Tesla just yet, because it is going to be back in consolidation. So I'd rather like Tesla above 454s or below this 418 level. For AMD, this one did have earnings. I talked about how it's a buy above this area or a sell below this area. You can see AMD earnings did come out negative. We came back below. We then hit our key level or key target that I gave you guys once again last Saturday, and we can see that this one has kind of bounced off of that area. If we do want to retest back into this level 225s, that would be a good retest for a move to the downside. However, if we push back above, we're going to be bullish. Right now, AMD to me is a lot more neutral because we're still in this consolidation after hitting a key area of liquidity. So a lot more consolidation on AMD. Same with NVIDIA. NVIDIA was a sell below this area back into its key pivot area of 169.60s. This one is pushing back above, a lot more of a neutral name. Like I said, I'm not even looking to long NVIDIA unless it breaks above 193.50s, and I'm not even looking to short it unless it's below 180s. As we can see, this one's currently right in the middle of the range, so not something that I really want to trade too aggressively right now. SNDK, I gave you guys the exact game plan. This one was a little bit too bullish. I do need the pullback on SNDK back into this area. We'll see if SNDK does want to pull back into 512.90s. This one has been bullish for the last couple of months. MU, this one, right, we came back into that one candle rule. That was the area that I was looking for the bounce. You can see buyers are stepping in. So there's a couple reasons and a couple ways we can look to trade MU. The number one thing we want to see is if we are looking for a long position, it now needs to reclaim 413.18. So this 413.18 level, I would like to reclaim, and we can come back up into all-time highs. That's something I'll be looking out for. Or if we break or hold this level right here, which is this one candle rule, for a move to the downside, that is something that we can look out for. For MU, the key thing is going to be Monday. We'll see the price action we get on Monday. Based off of that, then I'll look to take a more solid trade and thesis. For Google, this was a buy above area above this red box. And as we can see so far, it came back down after earnings. We're still holding above. It's basically just consolidating after all-time highs. This one, a lot more neutral. So a lot of these names coming into this week are a lot more neutral, kind of just consolidating in the middle of range. Amazon, this one has been consolidating for the last couple of weeks. We can see we've had a very big push down after earnings. We did have all-time highs. This was a key area where I wanted to buy above, but as we can see, once earnings happened, this one broke back below. So this one was then bearish. We had key areas of support. It broke every single key area of support for a move to the downside. So now for Amazon, the key area is going to be back down into this area, right? This is going to be that 197.86. We want to see Amazon hold above this level. Now, for myself personally, this one is definitely a lot more bearish. However, I do expect some sort of a bounce on Amazon this week, just because if you look at this previous week, we came down all the way 18%, right, in about 4 trading days. And therefore, we do need some sort of bounce. So I am expecting either some sort of consolidation or a little bit of a bounce on Amazon going into next week after such a bearish push down. Now, Hood, this is a name that does have earnings on Tuesday. Now, this one is currently at a buy area. This is near that $72 area on Hood. However, this one has pushed down from all-time highs as well. We are down currently 53%, almost 50% from all-time highs. So what I would like to see on Hood is going to be some buyers, but typically this is going to be after Tuesday. We are currently at a very, very critical area. If Hood does not hold this level, then this one does have room down. Hood has room down all the way back into $50, which would be about a 66% downside move from all-time highs, which is something we can potentially even look to expect if earnings are bad. However, if earnings hold up, then Hood, we would want the reclaim above $99. I typically would not look to buy Hood here. I would wait for the reclaim of $99 $99 after good earnings, or I would wait for the break of $72 for a move back down into potentially $50. Shopify, this one is a sell below this area. We can see we had some consolidation and we're actually breaking below. So Shopify has been a little bit more bearish on the higher time frame. However, Shopify's buy zone is going to be near $94 into $88. Anywhere above this level is a buy zone for Shopify. This one has earnings on Wednesday. It's a little bit more bearish right now. However, it's in the middle of the range. I'm not looking to trade Shopify until after Wednesday, after earnings. We'll see if it can come back into this buy zone here. We could potentially look for an earnings reversal play where if buyers do want to step in near this area with good earnings, we can look for buyers to step up for continuation back to the upside. And that's going to be a 1 to 2 day play where we're going to be looking for strong price action Thursday or Friday. However, if earnings are weak and Shopify still is weak as well, right, then most likely we just want to see that continuation below this 90 area. However, I personally would not want to short it into that area because we are still above that whole $100 psychological number where buyers typically want to hold that stock above. Coin, this is a name with Bitcoin that has been pushing down very, very aggressively. We are in a buy zone for Coin. So Coin has been very bearish below the sell below here area, and you can see all down close candles until we finally got into our buy above here area, which is this green box around 151s into 133s. This $20 area on Coin is where you would like to see it bounce. This one does have earnings on Thursday, so you couldn't play Coin until Friday typically anyways because of the IV and you want it to cool down. However, this one is a lot more bearish so far. If it breaks below this level, then Coin does have a lot more room. Remember, Coin is a sympathy, but this 115.22 area is where Coin can reach if it breaks back below this level. Now with Coin, we also need to understand what is Bitcoin doing and where can it potentially bounce here as well. So currently Bitcoin is right at this area right over here, which is around this $59,000 to $60,000 area. This is a level where we're seeing some sort of buyers and support on Bitcoin. It is below this key level right here, which is 80,800. That's where you'd like to see the reclaim of Bitcoin. You really do need to see the reclaim of Bitcoin for a little bit more bullish price action. Right now, it is a little bit more bearish. This one does have room into 53,000. So if Bitcoin does reach this $53,000 area, this is a good potential pickup zone for Bitcoin because once again, from all-time highs, we are down about 50%. At this area, we'd be down around 60%, but this would be a good area that we can potentially pick up some Bitcoin. However, for myself, for momentum to kick in on this name, it needs to be back above this $80,000 area for a move back to the upside. And finally, Airbnb. So this one does have earnings. The earnings on this one are on Thursday as well. This one is neutral. Since its original launch in 2020, it has really not done too much. It hasn't had either a strong uptrend or a downtrend. The company hasn't really done anything. So we do have earnings on this one. 115 to 110s is where you want it to hold above for that move to the upside. However, this one just has so much consolidation that even after earnings, as long as it stays above basically $100, this one will remain just in consolidation. However, if this one breaks above 141.54s and earnings are really good, then we do have room back up into 163.84s. And this is something that we can look out for, but that's only with good earnings. However, if earnings are negative and we do come back into this buy area, I personally would just be a little bit more neutral on this name just because it hasn't done anything in the last basically almost 6 years. So with this being said, I hope this gave you a better game plan coming into Monday. If this video helped you, make sure to leave it a like. If you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because I do trade breakdowns on every trade I take, and I will see you guys on Monday.